What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Gregway. Of course, Gregway is every Wednesday and Friday. I answer one of your questions and have a conversation with you because we are friends, whether you want to admit it or not. Today's topic comes from Sean Black. Sean Black asks, how did you get to work in games journalism? Sean Black, this is a question I think every one of us who works in the games industry and the press side, the enthusiast press side, has answered a million times. I'm happy to. Sorry for everybody else who's ever heard it. I think I've told it on Girl on Guy, the podcast. I know I have a form letter I send to people who write into IGN. Mitch Dyer just put up an awesome blog about all of this. Dan Amrich wrote a book called Critical Path. All of these are linked in the description. You get them there. My personal journey, though, and stick with me because it was years ago, so it's a little bit old and dated, but I'll update it with some annotations for you here. In real life, not in the YouTube. I know nobody clicks on annotations. In the 4th grade, I had an issue of GamePro, and on the cover was Maximum Carnage, and on the inside was a report on the death and return of Superman. And of course, back in the day, magazines like these there was no internet really. This is how you got your information. So I read it, and I read this magazine. I saw that they listed these games were coming out in the summer, and so it was technically summer where I was. So there was a month where I came home every day, had a note card like this one with all the Toys R Us's and KB Toys and everything else, all their phone numbers listed, and I would call down the list to see if they had either Maximum Carnage or the Death and Return of Superman for Genesis, of course, what we're talking about. They never did. They got really sick of me calling every day for a month, but I would finish the note card calls and then I would read the magazine cover to cover. And finally, after a month of doing this, it dawned on me that someone got paid to write this magazine. Someone got paid as a job to write about video games, to talk about video games. And I walked into the kitchen, had the magazine. I'm like, Mom, I figured out what I want to do with my life. I want to write about video games. And to my mother's credit, she's like, okay, we'll make that happen. Of course, back in the day, we didn't know how that worked. How do you make that happen? The best we could do was journalism, right? You think, okay, they know how to write, they got to be a journalist, easy, do that. It was kind of already in the path of what I probably wanted to do with my life and generally figure, because I based all of my decisions on Clark Kent, the glasses, the hair, not the body, but of course Superman doesn't have to work out, so that's always what I say. Like, Superman doesn't work out, so that's, anyways. I went the journalism route, did a whole bunch of stuff in school, went to high school, ran the weekly paper there and the bi-monthly paper there too. And eventually, my teacher, I guess, he gave me a pamphlet and he said, if you're serious about this journalism thing, you should go to this journalism summer camp kind of thing. And I looked at it and it was at this place called the University of Missouri. And I looked at the prices and I was like, this is too expensive, but I'll go there for school. And so I decided to go to journalism school at the University of Missouri. Because, of course, I was in the suburbs of Chicago. There's 2 journalism schools everybody talks about, right? They talk about Northwestern, which is Medill, and that's in Illinois, right in the suburbs of Chicago. Or in Chicago, actually, sorry. And then University of Missouri. They always compete back and forth for who's the #1 school. It's usually Mizzou, though. And so I went to Mizzou based on the fact that it was cheaper. Northwestern was really expensive, and it would give me a nice buffer from family and everything else, right? Some people get intimidated, right, by leaving for school and having to start over. I kind of find it refreshing, right, that I'd be able to go to a brand new place and kind of make my own thing. So I went to Mizzou, went into magazine journalism there to get my major, went on that path forever, and it was funny, we'd go around in classes and people would say, okay, well, what's your favorite magazine? And people would throw out Esquire or this or whatever, the New Republic, all these things. Then they'd get to me and I'd say Electronic Gaming Monthly, and people in the class would laugh, of course, when it was a video game, not in a mean way, just because it was clearly not at all like what everybody else was doing. And I know for some people that would be bad for them, right? Of course, Greg Miller likes getting laughed at. But what I found to be the most rewarding and cool thing about that is that it immediately gave me a presence within the journalism school, right? People would come and seek me out. They would have an article somebody wanted to do something for the magazine about Sims. They would come and give me the assignment. I didn't have to go there and beg them for stuff, right? They knew that there was a video game kid around here who was doing the writing and was good at it, so they would let me do it. Great. So I'm doing all of this under the assumption that I'm going to graduate one day with a degree in journalism from the best journalism school in the country, University of Missouri, and I'm going to be able to write my own ticket, right? I'm going to go to EGM, who when I went to college was still in the suburbs of Chicago, but eventually moved to San Francisco. Or I'd go to IGN or GameSpot or something like that. I was going to go into one of these big things that I would graduate with a degree from the best school. They'd have to pick me. And so I come to graduation, I get the degree, and I have a summer basically. I have a job locked down in Columbia if I want it, where I'm a daily newspaper reporter. Or I had that locked up before summer. So then the summer where I still had to do like my capstone class, which was like finishing off all my school, I was like, now that I have a real job in my back pocket, I can shoot for the stars and apply to IGN, apply to GameSpot, blah blah blah. Apply to all those people. Nobody would touch me with a 10-foot pole. Nobody would even give me the courtesy of a rejection letter, right? I actually had one phone call with Inquest Gamer for a position, right? And I couldn't stop talking. Like, they were a spin-off of Wizard Magazine. Couldn't stop talking, and I was like, well, didn't get that job. Big surprise. Went to the daily newspaper, ended up being there a year and a half. What changed for me and what changed everything is that after a year of it, the daily paper, Columbia Daily Tribune, gave me a video game column in the weekly magazine and a video game blog that I chose to do daily, but nobody really cared what I did with it. But I was doing it daily, writing something about video games and localizing it to Columbia, Missouri, and trying to make this name for myself there. So, all that happens, it's great. I apply to IGN, and I've gone through my Gmail, because I obviously had a Mizzou account. God only knows how many times I emailed IGN from it. But applied for a job at IGN, and I went through and ended up getting it, of course. This was my 13th application to IGN on the Gmail account. So I had 12 misses where they didn't even say, you're not welcome here. They didn't even respond, which is why I always thought I'd never work at IGN. I was like, well, I'll end up at 1UP. Those guys at least talk to you. Like, they, oh man, this is good, but you're not good enough, thanks. But on the 13th time I applied at IGN, I got contacted, interviewed, and hired within 24 hours. All within, literally overnight, my life changed. In a 24-hour period, everything was different, suddenly out of the blue, and it was crazy. It was great though. But when I got out to San Francisco finally, I asked Dunham, who had hired me, I was like, so what changed? You know what I mean? Like, I had applied 13 times, and this time, you guys hired me within 24 hours. Like, what is the difference? And he said it was experience, right? Like, I'd been applying those other 12 times with a clip I had done in the magazine here, and then 6 months later a clip I had done here, and then 3 months later a clip I had done there. I wasn't writing consistently about video games. And on that last time I had had that column and blog for 6 months, and this was my first time applying with that experience under my belt. So all of a sudden they had this wealth of content to go look at and be like, oh, he's got a voice, and he knows what he's doing, and he's getting better, and yada yada. They saw that I could do it, right? That I proved that I could do it. So that's always what the advice I give out to everybody else now. And this is where I've updated it for the 2014 edition, right? You should be writing, if you want to do what we do, if you want to talk about video games, you need to write about video games every day. You know what I mean? Have a blog, write, review stuff, because reviewing is tough. And if you start now, obviously you're going to, get through the crappy parts. You're going to have the shitty reviews out of your system by the time you have to write for a real place. Same thing though now. Start a YouTube channel, right? Like, what you're watching here is easy. You know what I mean? I've learned in the year and a half I've been doing this quite a bit, and it's awesome and I love it, but you need to be doing it too. You need to be comfortable talking to a camera, right? Because you're not on camera persona now. That's how it works. So go do that. Start one right now with your webcam, with your iPhone. Talk into it every day about video games or about whatever. It doesn't matter. Just get comfortable talking. Then talk more. Podcast with your friends. Everybody has a podcast out there. Get there and do it. Be blogging, be podcasting, be making videos, be capturing gameplay now, be doing gameplay walkthroughs, be doing all of this. And then on top of all of that, get that workplaces. When you're making your own YouTube videos, you are not in it for views. When you're making your own reviews, you're not in it for clicks. You are in it to get better and learn what you're doing so that when you apply to a place like IGN or GameSpot or Polygon or whoever, you can show them, I know what I'm doing, I've done it, and I've gotten all the crap out of my system. I'm way better at talking on camera than I would be if I just cold called you and did it out of the blue, right? That's what you need to do. Then if you're making walkthrough videos, go put them in freaking wikis. IGN has a whole bunch of wikis, right? If you found, whatever bottle on The Legend of Zelda and we don't have that video up, go put the video in there. We want that kind of content. That's the way it's supposed to be. So that is how I got into video game journalism, by never taking no for an answer, by learning how to write, and then having no shame, just taking my shirt off whenever I want to. I hope you have an easy time making it happen. It is not an easy road to go down, I'll tell you right now. A lot of people are doing it, but what's interesting is a lot of people try to do it, but the kids who are super, super passionate about it, that shines through as soon as you meet them. When I met Brian Albert years ago at a Portillo's IGN meet and greet I held, I knew he would work for IGN one day, and now he does. So that sounds cheesy, I'm sure, but like, if you have the passion and drive, you'll easily get into this industry. That's how a Gregway works, of course. Every Wednesday and Friday, you leave a comment, I answer it. Thank you so much for your support. Like, subscribe, and share. And then just, man, keep watching Gregways, man.